Alright, how's it going, y'all? So today we're going over how to set up an old PC into a really powerful Plex server. And this also works for things like Jellyfin or any other of those softwares you want to use. I'm going to be showing Plex here, but the principles are identical for the rest of them. And this is a really easy way to just get so much more performance out of your Plex server than what you can get on most NASs. And this works with pretty much any NAS. So if you've got a UNAS Pro and you want to install Plex on it, and have an old computer lying around, you're going to have an incredibly powerful Plex server because these old computers have built-in GPUs, either as like an iGPU hooked up to the CPU or as a standalone GPU. And that is huge for Plex transcoding performance because those GPUs can transcode video files tens and hundreds of times faster than even a very powerful CPU, because it's just built-in hardware logic to do it. And the other reason this is great is you can now upgrade your Plex server outside of just upgrading your NAS. So if you want to go into an even more powerful thing, add a GPU to it, whatever. Or if you end up needing more storage, you can either upgrade your NAS or you can actually combine two NASs together, because all the NASs are doing are serving the video files to Plex, and Plex is handling the rest. For most people, a 1 gigabit wired Ethernet connection is more than enough to do just about anything. However, if you have really high quality Blu-ray downloads, it may make sense to have a 2.5 gigabit network connection, especially if you do have a CPU in the computer that can actually handle it. We're going to be doing this on a Windows PC, but you can do the exact same thing on a Mac. And so the idea behind this is we're going to kind of decouple the Plex server from the actual storage. So we're going to keep our NAS as the storage server. That's what it's really best at. That's what it's designed to do, is network storage. Then we are going to have the Plex server that needs to do the transcoding, the indexing, the serving of the video files on this separate old PC. And this can be something you get from a thrift store for fairly cheap, because even a very low powered, slow by the standards computer is going to have that GPU that will make it a really powerful Plex server, and will make it more powerful than even a $4,000 Synology that does not have a built-in GPU into it. And so by doing this decoupling, not only do we get a much more powerful Plex server that's easier to upgrade than actually having to upgrade our entire NAS, we also get better security. We want to expose this thing to the internet because you want to be able to stream from your mobile device. Well, we might not want our NAS exposed to the internet. So by doing this decoupling, we are able to isolate Plex to an instance that only has access to that Plex media and nothing more. And so if something crazy happens and there is an exploited vulnerability, it's isolated just to that device, and the rest of our NAS is safe. So there's a lot of really great things about doing this. And I actually do the same thing, however, with Linux, but we're going to be doing this on Windows because it's just a lot more ubiquitous and people already have them on these laptops. And if you're not super comfortable with Linux, Windows is just a lot easier to get set up and going, and if there's an issue, it's going to be easier for you to debug, probably. So to do this, we don't need too much. The only thing I'll really recommend you buy, other than having some old computer, is something like this right here. This is what's called a dummy HDMI plug, and if you don't have HDMI, you've only got DisplayPort, they also make dummy DisplayPorts. What this little thing does is it just pretends and lies to the GPU that there is a monitor hooked up to it. They are super cheap. I'll leave a link down on Amazon down in the description below. But the reason we want that is a lot of GPUs and other systems have these really weird compatibility issues where they might not boot if a display is not detected. They might go to sleep if a display is not connected. The driver may fail if a display is not connected. And all those things are really annoying and really hard to debug. And this is like $6 and bypasses all of those issues. You leave it plugged in, and now you don't have to have a monitor hooked up to this server, and you can remotely access it. So I absolutely recommend having a couple of these around if you do stuff like this often, because if you do run into those issues, you can either spend hours debugging and updating the driver to get it in the right way where it's okay not having a actual display out, or you can just stick this in there and forget about it. So absolutely, highly recommend having those around, especially how cheap they are. And then from there, you ideally have a computer that you can get a wired Ethernet connection to the NAS for. If it's an old laptop, look up and figure out how you can set it so you can close the display, but the laptop keeps running. And also you can get these little 2.5 gig adapters for them to have it always having wired Ethernet. You can absolutely do this over Wi-Fi. And especially if you've got a good reliable Wi-Fi connection, you probably won't notice. But the reliability of wired Ethernet is well worth it. And then whatever storage you want to do is whatever storage you want to do. I'm going to be showing this hooked up to a Synology NAS, but this works for even if you just want to plug an external hard drive into it, or if you've got a UNAS Pro, or if you've got a Ugreen. This will work with any of them, and actually all of them. Because we've decoupled our storage and our Plex server, you can store some TV shows on a Ugreen, other TV shows on a Synology, and even other ones on an actual UNAS Pro, and Plex will just handle it all for us, and you won't even notice. All right, so now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and just get started. So the easiest way for me to do this, where I can show the entire thing, is actually going to be using a VM right here. So I'm not actually going to have a GPU hooked up to this device. All the settings are the same though. And this way I can actually just show you. And I'm running Windows 10 because I really hate Windows 11. But if you are doing this, you probably want to have it updated to Windows 11 for the security patches. And I'm just going to go ahead and log in. And you'll just do this on your system. And the first thing we want to do on this thing is figure out how to get off of it. We don't want to have to get a keyboard and mouse hooked up to the device every time we need to change a setting or reboot Plex or anything like that. It's a huge pain. You could use something like a little Jet KVM if you've seen those, but instead I would recommend using either Remote Desktop if you've got Windows Pro on here, or something like Chrome Remote Desktop. We want pretty much anything that'll give us an easy way of remotely controlling this thing without a monitor hooked up. Right now, I'm in Zen Orchestra, so since this is a virtual machine, it's kind of like I'm hooked up to it with an actual monitor and keyboard, but that's just to make this a lot easier to show in the video. But the first thing I want to do is set up some kind of remote access to it. And because this is Windows Pro, I'm going to just use Remote Desktop. And this has not changed in Windows 11, so you just search Remote Desktop. And as long as you've got Windows Pro, you are able to do this. Just come in here and click Enable Remote Desktop. And that is it. And then to hook up to it, whether you want to get this computer name or the IP address, I'm just going to find the IP address. So it is at 10.30.0.244. And that's all we need. I'd recommend setting up a DHCP reservation in your Wi-Fi router, just so it always has the same IP address right there, or give it something like a host name that's like Plex that you can actually use. But if you're using something like Chrome Remote Desktop, doesn't matter too much. And so we're just going to go ahead and use this IP address. If you've never used Remote Desktop before, it's really easy. On Mac, you just install the new Windows app. And then on PC, you just type in down here, Remote Desktop Connection, and type in either the IP address or the actual server name. So I use Remote Desktop for a ton of client systems, and so I'm just going to go ahead and directly log into it with a Remote Desktop. It's very easy to set up and use, but we're just going to jump right on in where I'm already Remote Desktop into it, so that way we no longer have to have a keyboard and mouse hooked up to this thing. And just like that, I have connected into it via Windows Remote Desktop. And so now you can just go in, unplug your monitor, and plug in your little dummy HDMI port, and your computer has no clue that you're only able to access it remotely through it. So now we're set up here. The first thing we want to do is get our drives mounted. So we want to make this really secure. So we want to essentially be able to open this up to the internet and have it isolated from the rest of our network. If you want, you can even put it on its own VLAN, but we're going to keep it very simple, and we're just going to use least privileges, where we're going to create an account just for this device and use that to log in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in my NAS, and we're going to create a folder structure for the media. So on Synology, I'm just going to create a new media folder and do all the normal things you would, snapshots, all that good stuff. And we're also then going to create a user just for this. And that way it's isolated to only having access to that one share. You call it Plex user, really anything you want there. And I would just generate it a random password, and that way you can just use that. Probably you don't even need to store that password anywhere, because once you remember on the server, you never have to type it in again. And if you lose it, you just reset it. So we're just going to create this user. And then what we're going to do is we're only going to give them access to media. And optionally, you could say read-only access, but I would probably give it read-write, just to keep it easy. And that's it. They need no extra permissions or anything like that. And this is a thing called least privileges. We're creating an account just for that service, so if it's compromised, it's isolated. It's just a great habit to be in. It's not critical for home users, but it's so easy to do, you may as well do it. And that way, if you change your own user password, nothing else breaks because everything's got its own account password on there. So now that we've done that, we're just going to go into our remote connection, go into network, and if you've not enabled network discovery, turn that on. In Windows, you can just do this by clicking this guy right here and make the network you're connected to a private network. And so we're just going to find the NAS we want to connect to right here, and we're just going to double click on it. It is going to have us enter those credentials and hit remember my credentials. And now we are going to choose that media folder, and we're going to map it, and we'll just add it as the Z drive. The cool thing about this is as we add more servers, the way Plex works, and same thing with Jellyfin and everybody else, is you just keep adding in more drive letters. So for a good structure, we're going to follow a setup where we have TV shows, and now we just build out and add our media as we normally would. We can actually just copy it directly through here, or we can add it directly through the NAS. And now we basically have all the storage and all the data on our NAS accessible on this Plex PC. And so now the last thing we got to do is just install Plex. So I'm going to be installing Plex, but same thing works with Jellyfin. And honestly, you can actually have both of them running. You can have multiple services on there. It's not too big of a deal. But we're just going to do plex.tv, and we're going to download Plex Media Server. We're going to do it for Windows. We'll install it on the C drive. And now we're just going to hook up to this thing. And now we just get right on into our setup. We're just going to say, call it Plex Demo, choose your settings here. And we're going to add our libraries pointing at that Z drive. And just like that, we are set up. So now what we'll want to do is we'll want to go in and do a couple of changes to our settings. For library, we're going to want to scan our library automatically and run our partial scan, and also add in a library scan periodically. And so the reason we want to do this is sometimes media will get added in there and Plex won't be able to detect it because it's on an SMB share. So depending on your performance and how often you want media to show up in here, you can do it daily or hourly or even every 15 minutes. So whatever makes this sense for you. What I would recommend doing is see if you have any trouble with it getting detected. And if you don't, just set it down to daily. That way you're always up to date. Then what we'll also do is we're going to come in, save these changes. We're also going to make sure we turn on our transcoder. So we're going to come down here and say use hardware acceleration when available, use hardware accelerated video encoding, and we are going to select our GPU, which I don't have right now because this is a VM, but we'd select our GPU right there, and now it'll offload all of that directly onto the NAS. Once again, these exact same settings exist everywhere else. And that's it. I'm just going to go ahead and reboot this server just to be sure it all comes back on up. But now we have a remote connection to our Plex server, and we pretty much never need to log into it. All the management can be done through the Plex portal, and this also is true for things like Jellyfin and all your other applications that you want to run on there. And any media we add on our NAS will be automatically added in and just found there. Then over time, if we need to expand this on out, it's easy. We can either expand storage on our NAS or also just get another NAS and make it the X drive. Really easy, and Plex and Jellyfin just handle it so well. What we want to do is we're just going to let that thing reboot, just to be sure. And so that way you know it's always going to come up. Perfect, it came up nicely. And so now I've rebooted it, I've logged back in, and all I want to double check is that our drive is still connected to the Z drive, and that our Plex service is still running. And it should be because we got Plex media server at login, and that's it. We're now hooked up, and it's running because we said start Plex media server at login, which is the default. And that's it. We now have this isolated out Plex server that we can just add media to, and we very rarely ever need to log into it. But if we do, we can either use remote desktop or Chrome remote desktop, however you're set up, to manage the thing. It's easy because we're just going to get the standard Windows updates, which is quite supported by Plex. And we also have really easy driver compatibility because we're running Windows. We don't have to worry about weird compatibility issues with certain GPUs because we're running on Windows, and unfortunately, Windows gets the first GPU drivers for just about everything. All right, well, that's going to be it for this tutorial. If you have any other questions, put those down in the comments below. And if you want to hire me, there's a link for that down in the description below. And have a good one. Bye.